Welcome to Phillip Island, Victoria in Australia. What a setting we have for this great sporting contest, the Little Penguin Sea to Dune race. Nervous moments always as they gather on the beach, the tension mounting, and away they go. There's the defending champion, wearing his familiar navy blue and white, great waddling style. Another pre-race favourite though, losing touch with the pack. Maybe that's why. A few too many fish in the day's feeding. There's a familiar face, Skip McIntyre, 8 times a champion back in the 90s, a very successful coach now, keeping a keen eye on proceedings. This the leading group, 1 or 2 still able to put on a show for the camera, others just ploughing straight over it. Some resorting to shortcuts. Sad that cheating has crept into this beautiful sport. The judges will have a look at that. But up at the front, the pace is relentless, closing in on those sand dunes that will offer a bed for the night. The fatigue starting to tell. Who's got the finishing kick up on the outside? What a turn of pace from that one, whichever one it is. No answer from the rest, and he takes victory. What a win. There we are, into the Burrow, building an extension with his winnings, and back tomorrow to try and defend his title here on Phillip Island.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and welcome to another night of Live Penguin TV. I'm going to be your host tonight. My name is Stephen, and joining me this evening we have the wonderful Anna. Come on over and say hi, Anna.
Hi everyone, I'm Anna. I'm going to be the producer for this evening. So if you have any questions that you would like to send to Stephen tonight, please let me know in the comments on YouTube or Facebook, and we'll try to get some extra tricky ones over to Stephen tonight. Back to you, Stephen.
Thanks, Anna. So yes, please put some questions in. I really do enjoy answering those questions that you're trying to learn more about our penguins. So don't feel shy if your questions are not too difficult. That's fun. I'm happy to go over some basic penguin facts for you. If you have a really tricky question, I can't promise I know the answer, but it'll give me something to research in the future. It could be a lot of fun. Now, you may notice on the screen already, we have penguins. They came in really early tonight. First group actually crossed at about 8:10, and it's about 8:20 right now. So we missed the very first group of a few penguins crossing the beach. I'm going to swap over to the highway camera because these guys are already going on their journey home. Now, these little penguins, for those who don't know, are called the Little Penguins, and we are watching them on their journey home. Or, having a rest on their journey home, as that one was just taking a little bit of a lie down on the pathway. Our penguins are called the Little Penguins because they're the smallest penguins in the world, only about 33 centimeters tall, and they weigh about 1 kilogram in weight. A few of our penguins on this stream are going to be weighing more than 1 kilogram at this time of year because we are in the molting season. And this one on the right here, who keeps falling over and lying down on his belly, I think he might be a bit of a pre-molter penguin. He's doubled his body weight in order to survive the molt. Once a year, our penguins molt their feathers. They grow in a brand new set of feathers all at once. They push out all the older feathers. It takes about 2.5 weeks for our penguins to finish the molt, and that's 2.5 weeks of no food or water for our penguins. So if you see him struggling on his journey home, lying down every 5 meters, he's doubled his weight in a month. Imagine you double your weight in a month and see how far you can walk before your legs start to get a bit tired as well. All right, let's swap back over to the main beach camera because I see a nice, lovely group on the water's edge getting ready to come out. How fantastic is that? Ooh, a bit of a Cape Barren goose in the bottom left-hand corner as well. A couple of them over there. We'll see if we get another goose gate tonight. I can't imagine we will. We have no baby geese at this time of year, so the parents are not looking to pick too much of a fight with our penguins, although they do sometimes like to show them who's boss. Oh, wonderful. So this is a nice big group of penguins. We might ask Carrie down on the beach to see how many penguins are in this group that's coming out right now. Put a guess in the comments if you have any idea of how many penguins you think are crossing the beach right here. It is really tricky for Carrie to count these penguins. As you can see, it's a really high tide tonight. There's very little beach for her to be able to watch the penguins crossing. So she gets a very short time frame to Try and count the penguins before they're already under the cover of the rocks across the beach. Oh, wow, it's going to be fantastic. So put your guesses in the comments. We'll see if Carrie gets back to us with how many penguins might be in that group right there.
And Stephen, where's the halfway point? We had Sarah ask when the tide's so high.
Where is the halfway point on the beach for where our penguin counters who are counting the penguins? Well, for those who don't know, all the designated penguin counters here, we mark a bit of an arbitrary spot on the beach that we call the point of no return. Usually it's about halfway across the beach, where we say once the penguins cross that imaginary line, they're not going to run back to the ocean. They're going all the way across. So on a high tide like tonight, there's no real halfway point. We basically just say, all right, that looks like they're crossing. Desperately try and count them as quickly as they can, because if they go back to the ocean, it's going to be tricky, but there's not much beach for them to be worried about. All right, so Carrie's just sending through some numbers now. I can't really hear them over the radio because I'm too busy having a chat with you guys, talking about these lovely penguins, but Anna was listening in. Do you know how many were in that last group there, Anna?
Yes, I do. We had 2 groups that came together, and Kerry counted them as separate groups as 64 and 167.
64 and 167. Really good numbers to start the night. We had a couple of other good-sized groups before this as well, before we started the live stream. So fingers crossed, we're going to get really good numbers. Now, I kind of started off the stream just talking about penguins, and I forgot to do my real introductions. Doing an acknowledgement of the land where we are viewing the penguins from today. I always like to acknowledge the land and pay my respects to the traditional custodians, the Bunurong, and acknowledge them as the traditional custodians and pay my respects to their elders, both past, present, and emerging. Please leave a comment for us tonight letting us know who the traditional custodians are of the land where you are viewing the penguins from. It's always important to know this, and to pay your respects to the land where you are watching from, because the place where we are living and growing and learning has a really big impact on our outlook on life. Wonderful, nice group of penguins waddling up the Penguin Highway towards us. And this live stream is brought to you thanks to the Phillip Island Nature Parks, of which the Penguin Parade is part of. I work for the Phillip Island Nature Parks, and we are a not-for-profit conservation organization. Now, we have a really big focus on penguins here, as penguins are a very popular animal. Lots of people come to see our penguins every year. And this little penguin's just fallen asleep by my head down here. Look at you, you must be tuckered out. He's quite a big penguin, this one. For a little penguin, he's quite a large penguin. Struggling to keep up with his friends up there. There's no way he's going to be able to keep pace with them. He's going to rest a few times. But the Phillip Island Nature Parks, we work at protecting animals like the penguins or any native animals that we have here on Phillip Island. We also take care of the koalas at our Koala Conservation Reserve. We were helping to rehabilitate a bunch of bushfire koalas from last year. We do a lot of really good work here protecting the local wildlife. Let's swap back over to the main camera. A few more penguins down here on this beach. And if you wanted to help us out in the work we do of protecting our local wildlife, you can head over to our charity website. Our Penguin Foundation charity organization does a lot of work in raising funds to help us with our conservation efforts. You can adopt an animal, like you can adopt a penguin or a shearwater or one of these lovely Cape Barren goose. Let's see if I can zoom in on one of these geese here. These magnificent birds who do occasionally, a bit blurry there, I'm not sure if I can get them into focus. They do occasionally like to pick a fight with our penguins. Now they're very docile geese, at least compared to other species of geese in the world. They're not really out to pick a fight with the penguins. They're there to protect their young, make sure that these little penguins don't get too close, don't harass their babies. I can guarantee you that if a baby was to be left alone from its parent, from its mother goose, and a bunch of penguins came up to it, those penguins would attack the baby. So the mom's doing the right thing in protecting her children, and you don't want to pick a fight with a goose. That's for sure, especially if you're a little penguin. All right, these guys are doing a lot of resting on these rocks here, which is just fun to see. You always see that preening behavior where they're taking their beaks and they're moving them back and forth across their chest or reaching behind their shoulder. lots of good self-care, a lot of maintenance on their feathers. They are waterproofing their feathers. They have an oil gland just above their tail, so if you see a penguin reaching its beak all the way around its back and rubbing its beak just above its tail, it's spreading the oil on its beak and then spreading that oil all across their feathers. And they can waterproof pretty much any feathers that they have. Now, if a penguin was to lose a bunch of feathers, some of the outer coatings, and it's only got that downy layer on the inside, they can even waterproof those downy layers if they need to. It's not as effective as waterproofing the outer layer of feathers, but seeing as our penguins only grow feathers once a year, it is important for them to be able to maintain a waterproof coating throughout the year, even if they happen to have a few feathers plucked here and there. So they're always very meticulous about their feathers, lots of preening. Doesn't just make them look beautiful, it does serve a very important function for their survival. Oh, wonderful. Another group waiting for us on the edge of the water here. They're checking to see if the coast is clear, making sure it's not too dangerous, hoping that other group's going to join them, and a nice large waddle of penguins are coming out of the ocean. We'll see if they all join up together and cross. And as we're waiting, do we have any more questions there, Anna?
Yes, we do. So Russia would like to know how long penguins live for.
How long do penguins live for? Well, it does probably vary a bit from species to species, and I couldn't tell you all the different ages across all the species. My focus is on the little penguins, which I'm sure you're the most interested in right now. On average, these little penguins live to around 6 or 7 years of age. But my favorite little tidbit of information is our penguins can live quite a bit longer than 6 or 7 years. The oldest penguin we have ever observed here at the Penguin Parade was around 26 years old. Quite an old penguin. And still doing very well in their final years of life as well. So, yeah, they do pretty well here. But yeah, the average can be quite a bit lower than you might expect the world record oldest penguin to be. Let's see if I can zoom in. I do see some penguins on the highway. I might swap to these penguins on the highway. This camera is so much clearer than the one on the beach. Let's get you guys into focus.
So Stephen, we have Emma here, and she'd like to know some interesting facts about female penguins. Seeing we have a special day today.
Oh, thank you for the prompt, Anna. I totally forgot to mention that bit. So it is International Women's Day, and we want to know some interesting female penguin facts. I'm trying to think of some interesting female penguin facts. Well, let's try and think. Something specific to the female penguins. You put me on the spot here, Anna.
Shell gritting's an interesting
that's
one,
a good
Stephen.
Thank you. So I can talk a bit about shell gritting. Our females, when they are with egg, or I like to say when they're pregnant, even though it's not biologically correct to call it that, but when they're with egg, they get these cravings. Now, when a penguin or any animal produces an egg inside their body, they lose a lot of calcium. Oops, sorry, I meant to swap the camera before I made it jump around like crazy. The egg takes a lot of calcium out of their bones. So our pregnant ladies, if you will, when they're feeling a bit of a calcium deficiency, they head down to the beach, and we call them shell gritters because they head down to the beach and they eat the shell grit in the sand. It took us a while to figure out what they were doing. Why do penguins eat sand, we were wondering. Well, those tiny pieces of shell in the sand are very high in calcium, so it helps to satisfy those pregnancy cravings that they get. We're probably very unlikely to see any shell gritters this time of year because the breeding season is well and truly finished. We have a few, very few, leftover chicks that are quite old. They probably need to get into the ocean as soon as they can. Every chance that mom and dad are just going to stop coming home to feed them because mom and dad need to take care of themselves. They need to get ready for the molting season, and they cannot molt their feathers when there's a bunch of hungry babies at home waiting to be fed by them.
Fantastic, Stephen.
Thanks.
That was a great one.
Yeah, and when it does come to raising babies, both the parents do take care of the young. It's not just the mom, it's not just the dad. They do take a very equal share, and they like to challenge those gender stereotypes that we humans unfortunately suffer from a bit too much. They're very equal in their efforts in raising the offspring. So way to go, penguins. Way to challenge those gender stereotypes. Far more progressive than we are at times, I like to say. Ooh, a little too far zoomed in there. I never get tired of watching these penguin bums waddle away on camera. It's always a lot of fun just to see. Now, some of these penguins might have to walk almost 2 kilometers to make their way home tonight, so they got a bit of a journey ahead of them. They're probably going to take a few rests on the way home. Our penguins might even fall asleep on the journey home. They'll waddle up to a point. They'll hit almost a designated resting spot on their waddle home where they'll lay down or maybe stand up and have a bit of a sleep in the middle of the pathway. And penguin sleeps are really interesting because they only sleep for about 4 minutes, no longer than that. So they can have plenty of little penguin power naps on their journey home. Man, these geese are really just settled down there, haven't they? Not too fussed by the penguins at all, which is good to see because the penguins are not too fussed by them either. If it was the breeding season for our geese, which does happen over our winter months, you might expect them to have some eggs, chicks around in July. They might be feeling a little different about these penguins. They're right here. Lots of people are great to see. Lots of people here watching the penguins in person. We do encourage you, as viewers of the live Penguin TV, to come down, see our penguins in person, because while it is a lot of fun to see our penguins on live Penguin TV, you don't have to travel. You get to do it from the comfort of your own home. You do miss out on a lot of the experience. We are only focused really here on the beach. You don't get to see them on their journey home, at least not for long anyways. You don't get to see them once they're at home, the types of behaviors they make and the sounds that they make. Our penguins are so noisy. They really do sing throughout the night. And they're often engaging in lots of little silly and fun activities. Maybe 2 males are having a bit of a squabble over the burrow where one is at. You might see some territorial fights. You might see some mating behavior. You might see some courtship behaviors. There's so much that happens here on a night-to-night basis. All of the rangers who work here say we love working here because every night something different happens. And it is very true. There's always something unique happening every night, and it's a lot of fun to see. How are we going with questions, Anna? You got a big list there. I'm hoping I'll get through most of them tonight.
I do have a big list here, Stephen. So while we're on the topic of looking at penguins during the evening, are there any predators of penguins during the night once the sun has gone down?
Ooh, interesting question. Do penguins have any nocturnal predators? No native nocturnal predators here on Phillip Island. We do have a few invasive ones like foxes. Well, we used to have foxes and feral cats, but foxes are an animal that we have managed to get rid of here on Phillip Island, which is really fortunate for our penguins because the fox is a devastating animal for little penguins. One fox can kill up to 40 penguins in a single night, which is not great because the fox is not going to eat that many penguins in a night. It just gets that, we call it a bit of a bloodlust happening where they kill one and then their adrenaline just gets going and they kill a bunch more. And if they were back in their native countries in Europe or wherever they're from, they would probably bury those excess animals in the snow to help them survive the harsher winter months. It's a bit of a cache for food, a great survival instinct that is completely out of place here in Australia because we don't really get a winter here per se. At least not when it's concerning the penguins. They're here year round. So the foxes are devastating. We got rid of them. They're off the island. No more foxes on Phillip Island, which is really good news. It took us decades of work to get that feat accomplished. Lots of dedicated rangers, sniffer dogs, motion cameras, bait traps, all types of hard work happened. Feral cats are still on the island. We're catching lots of feral cats every year where we take them to the Shire, make sure that they don't belong to anybody's household, and the Shire will deal with them for us because we're not out to capture anybody's little kitten that they somehow managed to lose from their house and they've wandered away. We want to make sure we get the feral, the wild cats, the ones who are really damaging to our penguins here. But other than that, for native species, no native nocturnal predators for our penguins, which is why they come out at nighttime only. They wait for the sun to go down And once it's safe, they start crossing that beach. And it is safe for them to come home right now. They haven't adapted to our invasive species just yet, but they are well adapted to any predators that they have that are native here to Phillip Island, because all of those native predators are asleep. They're home for the night, and our penguins truly believe that they'll be safe on their journey home. And fingers crossed, with the amount of work we're doing, we are keeping them safe on their journey home.
So what are some of those things that we're doing, Stephen?
Besides dealing with the invasive predators, a lot of capturing of the feral cats and keeping the foxes away, we are making sure that our penguins are protected from people. Now, we are not predators for little penguins, in the fact that we don't eat penguins, and people often ask me, has anybody ever eaten penguin? And yes, there have been individuals who have tried to eat penguins, and they regretted their decision immediately because penguins are ridiculously oily birds. I told you about how they preen their feathers, get the oil all over their feathers. They are so oily that they are absolutely noxious for a human to eat. Apparently they taste so bad you would vomit if you tried to eat one. Whereas I like to say they taste really foul. We know that the Bunurong did not used to eat penguins when they came to visit Phillip Island seasonally, and this is a very easy to catch bird. It has lots of good meat on it, so it's not as though it's not nutritional in that it doesn't have enough meat on it to sustain a human. It would, but if the local Aboriginals are not using an easy to catch bird for a source of food, there's a really good reason for it, and you probably shouldn't use it either. So yes, we're keeping them safe from the humans, because humans, while we don't eat penguins, we do damage their habitat by our mere presence. If you were here on Phillip Island, well, even 15, 20 years ago, and you were driving around the peninsula where our penguins lived, you would have seen houses that were located in the penguin colony, on top of the penguin colony. And penguins used to have to waddle their way home across roads, and people used to go back to their homes after sunset. It's not too unreasonable for a person to be driving home at 8 or 9 o'clock at night in the evening. And these little penguins are quite hard to see on dark roads, because this town, this housing estate didn't have any real street lights per se. So if you're driving on a dark road and you see a penguin with dark feathers not looking at you, looking away from you, it's going to be very tricky to see them. So we managed to get all of the people off this peninsula. We used the Victorian government's funds for that, because we can't buy back an entire town. But it took us a long time, 20 odd years or so, 30 odd years or so, to get rid of all the to get rid of all the houses in the penguin colony. And the penguins have just been thriving as a result of our efforts. They really have benefited from us giving them a safe place to call home. And that's what really a lot of wildlife needs here in the world, not just here in Australia. A lack of human interference on their habitat will do wonders at restoring wildlife populations. And there's a lot of ways that you can help wildlife populations wherever you are viewing from in the world, whether it's here in Australia, maybe in the UK, North America, wherever you are viewing from. You might not be able to directly help our little penguins, but you will be able to help your local wildlife. And that's by doing simple things like reducing the amount of plastic you use. We got a cute little bandicoot bum on the screen right here. I'll try and get him into focus. Now, if you don't know what an eastern barred bandicoot is, you're in for a treat, because this is the cutest little marsupial in the world. Very tiny, smaller than our penguins. These guys are critically endangered. In fact, they used to be labeled as extinct in the wild. So it's a really special treat to see one of these live on TV. We released, I think it was 67 or so of these bandicoots a few years ago on the Semmelins Peninsula. And we estimate that their population has grown to about 300. So for an animal that used to be extinct in the wild, where they had about 19 or 20 or so eastern barred bandicoots left in the world, all in the Melbourne Zoo, they've made a really good, strong comeback. And we're hoping to eventually take them off the critically endangered list. That's our goal anyways. We never know if that will happen, but we'll do our best. And Our ideal is to get them onto the species of least concern, so we don't have to worry about their survival too much anymore. That's a lot of work involved in getting them to that point, but we'll keep working at it, we'll keep trying, and there's lots that we can do to help. And again, you can help as well if you wanted to. You can adopt one of our animals here in a symbolic gesture. By adopting our penguins or our geese or our eastern barred bandicoots or koalas, whatever animal tickles your fancy, head over to our Penguin Foundation. There should be a link in the description, and you will be helping us to protect our lovely animals that call Phillip Island their home. And I did have a bit of a message. I got distracted by the bandicoot where I said you could help them in your own home without needing to donate as well. Make simple changes to your life where you can reduce the amount of plastic you use, reduce the amount of impact you have on the environment. Choose a few little sustainable choices, daily choices that you can make that will make a small impact but over time, the impact will grow and grow and grow until it really does make a difference in this world. All right, Anna, I think I want to finish off with one more question. Can you give me one really good question?
Yeah. So I'll bring you back to a question about molting because that's where we are at the moment.
Good one. Yeah.
And this was from Jenny. Mm-hmm. What happens if a penguin goes through a molt and it gets hungry or thirsty?
Well, I can guarantee you that if a penguin's going through a molt, they are hungry. There's no doubt about that. I can't go more than 24 hours without food, and these penguins going 2.5 weeks without food. So they're beyond hungry. They are hangry. But they're not going into the ocean. They won't be able to really float on the ocean with their molting feathers. They can go out for a quick swim, but the water is going to seep through all of their feathers that are constantly pushing out, constantly changing. It's such a rapid change that they cannot waterproof their molting feathers. So they're stuck on land. They are landlocked. They have to survive without the food. As for thirst, I have seen molting penguins wander their way down to the beach. And looks like they take a little swim in the ocean, not for a long time. They seem to do a quick little jaunt into the ocean. I like to imagine that they're taking a bit of saltwater drinks into their system, might be replenishing their fluids a little bit that way. They're not out there for catching fish, though, that's for sure. They always seem to come back onto land afterwards. But yeah, if they get desperately thirsty, they do have access to water not too far away. Some of the unlucky ones might have to walk almost 2 kilometers to get back to the ocean. But it's very uncommon to see our penguins traveling to the ocean during the molting season. They don't sweat like humans do, so they're not losing all that moisture like we would. And they are not losing a lot of energy while they're molting because they lower their metabolism, slow down their metabolism. They really do preserve as much energy as they can so they can survive that 2.5 weeks without food. But 2.5 weeks is a long time to go. Not every single penguin will make it through that. But most of them do. They are very good at surviving, our little penguins. So while it is a challenging time of year for them, they do manage to do quite well. All right, that was a really good question. I think we might end it there, Anna, because I think you told me we're out of time.
Yes, we are.
All right, we're out of time. That's a shame. I was having so much fun answering your questions. But tune in tomorrow night if I didn't get around to your questions. There will be streams going on for the next little while, so you're more than welcome to ask those questions over the next few nights. We will do our best to get to them. All right, so I might sign off for now. So thanks everybody for tuning in and have a great night.
Bye-bye.
Bye.